Folks, this is getting ridiculous. I recently learned that the algorithm has unsubscribed some people 2 or 3 times during the past few weeks. Why? It's because the growth of my channel is being throttled randomly. In other words, I gain 300 subscribers, they automatically subtract 270 subscribers randomly. That's the nearest thing I can figure out. And one of them can certainly be you. Don't believe me? Go into the comments sections of my last few videos and see for yourself. Seriously, I have channel members being unsubscribed. Channel members, it is ridiculous. Please check to make sure you're still subscribed, and if you aren't subscribed, please do so and hit the notification bell. We are in a war to stop the destruction of our culture here, but I cannot do it alone. Thank you for subscribing, and now, on to the video. My friends, begun the Disney Wars have. We all saw this coming, but once the event finally arrives, you can really feel the impact in your bones. Now at last, Nelson Peltz has made his initial move against Disney, currently seeking 2 seats on the Disney board, one for himself and one for a surprising figure from Disney's past who probably knows a lot about where the proverbial bodies are buried, and may be seeking to even scores with his former colleagues that he left behind. No one was surprised about Peltz. The writing was on the wall where Trian Fund Management was concerned, but holy crap, folks, the selection of a former Disney chief financial officer as Nelson's second seat in this bid has definitely heated up this war for board seats, and God knows what revelations will be coming in the following weeks. And to discuss this situation, I have brought on my loyal comrade, my ally, my friend, Mexican Iron Man. Mexican Iron Man, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Doomcock. It's great to be here at Xanadoom and with you today.
I'm delighted to have you here, brother, and we're going to talk about this. So let's briefly sum up exactly what happened today. Nelson Peltz nominated himself and James A. Rasulo to the Disney board. Now, Rasulo was the chief financial officer of the Walt Disney Company from 2010 to 2015. He knows an awful lot, and in his own words, in Trian's press release, Rasulo said, "The Disney I know and love has lost its way." And I think that says it all. Nelson Peltz states he lays out a good case here. Disney is one of the most iconic companies in the world with unrivaled scale, unparalleled customer loyalty, yada, yada, yada. However, Disney has woefully underperformed its peers and its potential. It alleges that earnings per share are over 50% lower than their peak, despite over $100 billion of capital invested. He says for shareholders, this subpar performance has destroyed value. Disney stock has underperformed the stocks of Disney's self-selected proxy peers and the broader market over every relevant period during the last decade and during the tenure of each non-management director. Furthermore, it has underperformed since Bob Iger was first appointed CEO in 2005. Disney shareholders were once over $200 billion wealthier than they are now. Unfortunately, the board and CEO appear to have no conviction that things will get better. The non-management directors collectively own, get this folks, this is insane. The non-management directors collectively own less than $15 million of Disney stock, and Mr. Iger has sold the vast majority of his ownership stake, built up primarily through share-based compensation, more than $1 billion of Disney stock, leaving shareholders alone to face the daunting reality of a complex turnaround in a rapidly evolving industry. The root cause of Disney's underperformance, in our view, is a board that is too closely connected to a long-tenured CEO and too disconnected from shareholders' interests. The board, we believe, lacks objectivity, as well as focus, alignment, and accountability. Although the recent appointment of 2 new directors to the Disney board is a step toward greater board objectivity and a belated acknowledgement of the company of the need for change, this reactive board self-refreshment on the eve of a proxy contest is insufficient in our opinion, both because the new directors were chosen without shareholder input and because they seemingly do not own meaningful amounts of stock. In short, my friends, shots fired. Mexican Iron Man, what is your reaction to this development?
I have several reactions. The first reaction is that I'm still feeling a bit burned by the 30-cent share biennial announcement of the dividend. I'm still reeling from that because that is such a pittance. Anyone that's bought stock in the last year will recognize that it's not even 0.3 of a penny of a return on maybe the average price of the stock over the last year. As far as what Nelson Peltz and Tran is saying in this announcement, I think he's hitting the nail on the head, in particular because he's noting, as you just read, that the people that are on the board really are not part of the people that are represent shareholder ownership of the board. I mean, if you look at the entire roster, I think the entire roster is less than $15 million worth of stock owned by the people that's on the board. Isn't that outrageous, Doomcock?
That's insane. I mean, the whole point of a board of directors is somebody that has common stake with your investment. And this kind of explains why they don't give a shit that their movies are underperforming and that, they're prioritizing the message or the agenda over, actual profit for investors because they're not really investors.
Of course not. Exactly. It's outrageous. Imagine on a smaller scale, anyone who's watching this show, this video right now, and imagine a family business worth $10 or $100 million that maybe has been built up. And then all of a sudden, the people who are in charge of being on the directors of the board of running this thing are random people from all over town that barely have a sliver of interest in where it goes and what it's worth. My third reaction to all of this has to do with this is a thermonuclear blast. When I read this announcement and you contacted me for us to do this video, the fact that Jay Rasulo has been brought back is epic on a variety of fronts because back before when he was working there with a fellow named Tom Skaggs with Iger. And Iger famously swapped Skaggs and Rasulo from the CFO and head of operations and parks positions. And Rasulo was a CFO. He was the last one there before Christine McCarthy. And he was at the Disney company, not just as a CFO for a few years. I think he left in 2015 it was. But before that, I mean, he was at Disney back in the 80s. I think in 1985 or 1986, he's been at the company. This is a guy with decades of knowledge of how this business runs. By the way, how it ran when it was ran right in terms of what we as consumers want and what we're expecting from our parks, from the studios and from the vacation experiences that they offered. I think for Perlmutter to get Jay Rasulo on board with this thing is a massive thermonuclear warhead. Now, let's not forget that in one of your previous shows, we covered that there was a consultant brought back named Tom Skaggs, who was that former executive that I referenced a minute ago. So over here, you've got Iger with Skaggs over here and a couple of investment firms that he's got to pick up some stack. You've got Nelson Peltz over here and Jay Rasulo now with Nelson Peltz being named as the two board nominees. I think this press announcement is on point. You've got two guys, both outsiders, who own control and beneficiary control $3 billion of common stock.
As opposed to 15 million on the rest of the board? Is that what basically?
Right. The other 11 have 15 million. The other 11 that are 12 that are there. The other, including the one that just nominated, I guess that's going to take them to 12. But the other 12 have 15 million. These two, I mean, frankly, if I were Nelson Peltz, I would ask for 4 seats, but I get why he's doing what he's doing. But because essentially he's saying there's no reason to turn these people down. If Bob Iger and the board of directors of this company repels this slate of directors, then we have then there is no way to deny that this company and its CEO do not care at all about what happens to the company. If this is a hijack, this is a piracy of a century-old company, and that this hijacking and piracy is happening on the high seas now at the 100-year anniversary is something that we Doomcock here at Xanadu cannot allow to go unnoticed. We must sound the horns here. This company can be saved, and if Nelson Peltz and this board of directors gets put on this board, I think we've got two guys that can really help provide that stewardship that we need on an ongoing basis.
I do too. And I think that James Rasulo has some interesting things to say in this Trian press release, and I want to go ahead and share this. Mr. Peltz said to resolve the malaise and crisis of confidence among Disney shareholders, the board needs a fresh perspective from truly independent directors selected by the shareholders themselves. Jay and I have the strategic, operating, financial, and governance expertise to help Disney and are committed to working with the other members of the board and management team to address the fundamental issues underlying the company's continued poor performance. And Jay Rasulo, he really lays it out on the line, folks. He says, the Disney I know and love has lost its way. As independent voices in the boardroom, Nelson and I are confident that the combination of my decades of experience at Disney, Nelson's significant boardroom skills and history of driving positive strategic change, and our combined consumer brands, expertise, and financial acumen will be additive to the Disney board. With a shareholder mandate, Nelson and I look forward to helping the board and management reorient the company towards delighting its consumers again and driving significant value for its owners. Man, oh man, these guys are hitting it on the head. You're absolutely right, Mexican Iron Man. This is Disney's last best hope for profitability. And if they are repelled, this would be a sign that indeed everything that we've been saying for years is true, that Disney is focused more on spreading a very obscure minority viewpoint of the world, trying to overthrow our majority viewpoint, our culture, by presenting subversive messages in their entertainment. I think this is amazing. Do you think Rasulo has any kind of knowledge of past wrongs with Disney? I mean, is he going to be able to really dig in and get at, kind of the skeletons in Disney's closet, do you think?
Well, the thing is that every board of directors, the way they operate, you have committees, and what I would think that'll happen is that Jay would be, the idea would be to put Jay on the audit committee. Now, we've got to remember something that we've covered on your channel many times on your live streams, which is that Disney has had the same audit firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers, since the 30s. And what I would love to see is Jay with his CFO hat on, get on the audit committee of Disney and start to drill down and dig deep. He's not going to have, he certainly is going to have some institutional knowledge, obviously, at least up to about 2014 and 15, but nothing, obviously he's been on the outside since then. But this is someone who I would be very excited about. And maybe I've got two selfish interests here. Maybe this is why you invited me today. On the one hand, the stock that I inherited a block of stock in the early 2000s from my mom, and that was, a lot of that value came from what happened to Disney in the 80s and 90s, obviously. In terms, and then I, in my infinite not so much wisdom, bought a huge block, used it to buy a huge block of stock when the stock was up in the 170s. And so when Trian in this press release talks about today's stock being worth less than half of what it was a year or so ago, a couple years ago, yeah, I'm that guy. So I'm looking forward to what may come of this. The annual meeting will happen in the spring of 2024. The last one that was had, as you will recall, was incredibly explosive. I plan to be there with eyeballs and ears dialed in to that call, and I look forward to getting my mailer so that I can support this nomination for these board of directors. I look forward to getting my little card in the mail and supporting them.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I think that this is a very exciting time for those of us who care about pop culture and care about, the decline of Disney, which has been chronicled on this channel for years. And there's a saying, it's always darkest before the dawn. And I feel like perhaps this is the dawn. To conclude, what do you think are the odds that Peltz is going to succeed in this bid? Can Iger and the board muster enough oomph to block him? And if so, what is his next move?
I look at this as a two-stage operation. I think that this is like a political campaign. This is like election year. Peltz has to do a good job of getting the word out. We have to do a good job on our side, Doomcock, and following your lead and others to really push this out there. Because what we now need is we need not just Nielsen voting with his $3 billion worth of shares. We need everyone, whether you've got one share of stock out there or 10 or 20 or 30, or maybe you've got some Disney stock in your 401k, contact your advisor, make sure you get to this is a movement for the people. We now have to sound the alarm in order to help him be successful so that everybody votes to support this slate. We have a shot to save Disney, which for, by the way, 3 or 4 generations now has been the definitive entertainment company for America. And I'm incredibly optimistic because even if they repel Nielsen Peltz this time and they fail to perform, that just means we're coming back. We being Nielsen Peltz and Tran are going to come back harder and stronger. We cannot let this company die without a fight, and we cannot let these vandals come in and continue to ruin the IPs that we fought so much to protect. Not so much for ourselves and our own memories as children, but for my children and my children's children. I want Max, my 10-year-old, to enjoy Disney. He doesn't now, and it bums me out as a dad. I never thought this would happen, that my 10-year-old would not be experiencing this Disney magic like I did. But that's what's happened, and I don't want that to happen for his kids down the road either. We can do this, Doomcock. We can do this.
So we will be chronicling all of this on this channel, and I will no doubt be consulting your expertise moving forward as this happens, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Doomcock.
And from the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock and Mexican Iron Man bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha.